Yes. So that was I think one of the achievements of the movement, you know, and Julian being kind of like SNCC's information officer, you know, I mean, was very much intimately involved in that, but not so much myself.
You mentioned Hollowell and Howard Moore, and yesterday we interviewed Judge Horace Ward and Alexander. Anything else you want to say about George's Mr. Civil Rights and just having that avenue there when the students got put in jail and they would come and get them out?
Our main legal our main legal person was Howard Moore. You know, Howard, Julian's brother-in-law, was significantly involved, you know, in fighting cases for us. He was our lawyer when the federal case developed against us, and we were being tried by Judge Newell Edenfield, I think was the judge, if I'm not mistaken. And our jury was an all-white jury, and so we were all convicted. But the only person, and I'm not sure what happened, you know, but the only person who ended up really serving any time was Michael Simmons and myself. I know Larry Fox didn't serve any time, even though he was sentenced to the same, because Larry was there. Larry was in a telephone conversation with Dr. King, and because of the whole legal deal involving wiretaps and things like that, Larry managed to escape having served any time. Another young person was a guy named Samuel Schutz. Samuel, I'm not sure how he was able to avoid serving time, but he did, you know, and I'm not sure what the reason was, because he was involved in that demonstration. And there were two young ladies, I don't think they pursued charges against them beyond the county and city charge. And I'm not sure why, what the reason for that was. There was her name, one's was named Flora Goodlow, and I'm not sure what the other young lady's name was. But you know, that whole demonstration has basically escaped the purview of most historians. You know, nobody writes about it, you know, so, but that was a part of SNCC's legacy. And even I attended the 50th anniversary of the founding of SNCC a few years ago that was held at Shaw University. And even at that conference, not too much was mentioned about SNCC's role in the anti-war, anti-draft movement. I'm not sure why that was, but that's perplexing, particularly having been a part of it, you know. But anyway, but to talk about, you know, markers, you know, I think that the first meeting at Danforth Chapel, you know, deserves a marker because all of it, I mean, Julian Barnes was there, Alice, his wife Alice was there, Frank Holloway, who not only was a huge participant in the Atlanta student movement, was one of the freedom riders, was one of the main freedom riders. Have you even been interviewed, Frank? Okay, good. But Frank Holloway was a part of that meeting. A guy named Joe Pierce, and a guy named Melvin McCall. Now, Melvin was the reason because we kind of like felt that once we got the college presidents involved, that was going to be, you know, that was going to be a little, you know, difficult to deal with. But Melvin, he in the meeting, he said, I don't think we should do anything until we consult the college presidents. And that was how the Statement Committee on Appeal for Human Rights developed, you know. I'm not really sure who wrote that statement.
Dr. Rosalind.
Okay, Rosalind, all right, yeah, that sounds right.
Let's talk a little bit about the impact of the Freedom Riders
Okay.
on the movement.
All right.
Anything you want to say about the Freedom Riders?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to, you know, when we went into these little rural districts, you know, I mean, in Arkansas, in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, you know, the people called us Freedom Riders. So there was this association in their mind between the Freedom Riders and these SNCC workers who were, you know, on the ground doing the work. So I remember Mike Simmons, you know, telling, you know, that's how people refer to us when we went into a lot of these rural communities as Freedom Riders. And there was no organic connection because the Freedom Riders had come out of CORE, you know, and that development. But that's how people saw us, and that was a significant, they thought, well, that's how they refer to us, as Freedom Riders. Frank Holloway was one of the main, Frank Holloway and John Lewis were two of the main people who were part of SNCC and the Freedom Riders. You know, that was very heroic on those people's part, you know, to be a part of that. I knew about it, but I grew up in a little community in Alabama, Wilcox County, which is where I live now. I moved back after my sojourn here in Atlanta, but yeah, the Freedom Riders and Raymond Arsenault has done a significant book on that whole development of the Freedom Riders, you know. But I think a lot of people kind of overlooked the Freedom Riders in terms of their impact upon SNCC, CORE, SCLC, et cetera, you know, and the development of the freedom movement.
Do you recall the students' efforts to integrate Grady?
No, I don't. Grady Hospital? No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not up on that.
Did you, or are you, well, no, you said you were from Alabama. You didn't require any services from Grady. You didn't have to go to the hospital.
No, the football, the football injuries, you know, that was, I think, taken care of on
campus.
on campus, right?
So I understand there was a meeting at War Memorial Church, and that Dr. King spoke at. It wasn't necessarily planned for him to speak.